morning, ladies and gentlemen. The first obligation of a speaker is to explain why the topic matters, why you should care. And let me explain why you should care about this evening's event. The following anecdote about the Constitutional Convention, 1787. Ben Franklin was an attendee, and he emerged from the convention with this document, the Constitution of the United States, and he encountered an elderly woman who asked him, "Doctor, what have we got? A monarchy or a republic?" And Dr. Franklin retorted, "A republic if we can keep it." If we can keep it. And that's what we're here about tonight. You may also recall that in the preamble to the Constitution of the United States, it identifies as one of its major purposes the securing of the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. What we're about tonight as well is preventing precedents that will lie around like loaded weapons for the future to be utilized to destroy and pulverize every ounce of liberty that were earned for us at Valley Forge, Cemetery Ridge, Iwo Jima, and otherwise. Now, I will make the case for the importance of impeaching and convicting President Bush and Vice President Cheney by suggesting that the comparison of their activities and their theories of power should be measured against what you might read in Alexander Solzhenitsyn's description of the Soviet Union, the indictments against King George III in the Declaration of Independence, which also included here, and practices that are reminiscent of the Spanish Inquisition. If what I describe fall into those categories, I would suggest it's quite clear that we are at a precipice that if they go unrebuked, this democracy does not have a long shelf life. Let me identify just the greatest theories of executive power that should be frightening to everyone in this audience. Number one, all of the United States, every square inch is an active battlefield because Osama wants to kill us there. And therefore, military law, military force, military jurisdiction can supersede civilian law wherever the president wants to do so. That is, making our liberties at the sufferance of the president, not, as stated in the Declaration of Independence, these are inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and governments are formed to secure those rights, not to destroy them. Not to destroy them. The second theory of power of this president that is equally alarming is the idea that if he is seeking to gather foreign intelligence, he can violate any law, any proscription in any statute, in any treaty he likes. For example, he can open our mail, break and enter our homes, and commit torture if he says he's seeking to gather foreign intelligence. And if he desists, it's at his grace, not our rights under the Constitution of the United States of America. Another theory of presidential power, we are in perpetual warfare, a condition which James Madison said was irreconcilable with liberty. The definition of war under this president, acquiesced in by the Congress, as if there is any Homo sapien anywhere in the Milky Way who threatens a U.S. citizen at any time with a terrorist act, we're at war. That is perpetual war. We know that will never happen. And this comes in light of these facts that are known. Namely, since 9/11, there have been no deaths in the United States that have been attributable to terrorism. You know how many murders there's been in the United States since 9/11? About 150,000. Are we suspending habeas corpus, having military commissions to confront that danger? No. But for the international terrorists, suddenly, the system of justice that's enshrined in the Constitution collapses and can't work. That is bogus. It's an inflated fear, calculated to enlarge the powers of the executive, which invariably aggrandize authority in times of crisis. Fourth theory of government. The president has the power to claim executive privilege to prevent any of his aides from testifying about any presidential advice or conversation. Most recently, this has been done in conjunction with the investigation of the firing of 9 U.S. attorneys. Now, my baptism in Washington was Watergate, and I remember vividly right now seeing John Dean, former White House counsel, recite chapter and verse before the Senate Watergate Committee of what? Conversations he had with President Nixon in the Oval Office. Nobody at that time, even the most strongest proponents of executive power, thought Nixon could tell Dean, shut up, don't say anything, you might embarrass him. Now this president has claimed the power to muzzle executive officials that would have prevented us from uncovering Watergate. And yet, what is the response? Yawn. Shock. Remember October 20th, 1973. I still remember it. I was a young attorney in the Department of Justice then. I remember that evening. CBS News, I watched Robert Pierpoint. He raised there the Saturday Night Massacre. Archibald Cox fired. Richardson resigned. Ruckelshaus resigned. The burning of the Reichstag was reminiscent. 450,000 telegrams came in from the American people like you, protesting. And we know what happened. A new special prosecutor, Leon Jaworski, and ultimately Nixon was forced from office. Where are those 450,000 telegrams today? Emails, which are far less burdensome in the Senate, protesting these very, very dangerous theories of executive power. Of course, we go to the actual practices that I think clearly demonstrate the danger we confront. The president has established this idea of an enemy combatant, which enables him to detain people at Guantanamo Bay or elsewhere without access to lawyers, without accusation, indefinitely. Now, what is an enemy combatant? It'd be a little less alarming if it was defined as someone who's actively involved in a battlefield trying to kill someone. But no, enemy combatant is someone who's an affiliate with an international terrorist organization. An affiliate? Do you think they have a roster there and they sign up affiliates to the subsidiaries? No, it can be anything. And it's providing aid or assistance to a terrorist organization. Will it sell them a ham sandwich? You know, fix their bridges that are torn? Is that material assistance? There are no limits. And the danger is when that you have such loose definitions, it chills speech and debate. It makes people fearful. If I say something critical of the Iraqi war that sounds like Osama, am I now assisting terrorist organizations? And we know human nature is inclined to be reticent, worried. And this is a way that you throw a dagger at the heart of constructive free speech in any kind of democracy. The president established military commissions, kangaroo courts. They really are duplicates of the Spanish Inquisition to try people for alleged war crimes. The military commission is part of the executive branch. You get to play judge, jury, and prosecutor at the same time. I think I last read about that and about the Red Queen and Alice in Wonderland. How many acquittals do you get when you get to try your own charges and accusations? Not many. It really is a throwback to the Spanish Inquisition. It's not only that the tribunal is subject to executive manipulation, it's enabled to use secret evidence, evidence obtained by coercion, to try the accused. How reliable are those verdicts? Would you like to be subject to a trial in which the evidence that convicts you is withheld? Again, these are practices that no civilized nation tolerates. And yet they are part of the Bush administration, say part of the machinery and institutions of law that, if not rebuked now, will lie around like loaded weapons for posterity to inherit and to be victimized by these kinds of procedures.